It's a word we see often in the decaying, wood-panelled corridors of Westminster. A thick fog of unreality seems to seep from the very stones of the place. But rarely, if ever, do we see delusion on this catastrophic, almost suicidal scale. Keir Starmer, the man currently, temporarily, occupying number 10, has looked into the abyss of his own party's raging civil war. He has seen the polling numbers that spell his political death. He has felt his own voters turn on him in open disgust. And after witnessing all this, he stood before the nation and declared, with a chillingly straight face, "I will lead Labour into the next election." This isn't just confidence. This isn't bravado. This is a breathtaking, almost clinical detachment from reality itself. It is the statement of a man who can no longer see the storm gathering right outside his window. And it forces us to ask a terrifying question: is this the final, hubristic arrogance of a prime minister drunk on power, or is it the last, desperate act of a puppet whose strings are about to be cut by his own masters? The mainstream media, in their usual, placid, state-sanctioned way, will report this as a story of defiance. A leader steadying the ship. The BBC will have their political editor on, nodding sagely, talking about the party unity. They will print his carefully curated quotes from the Daily Mirror. They will talk of his ambition, his supposed focus on the cost of living. Do not be fooled. This is not journalism. It is public relations for a failing state. They are showing you the puppet, but they are deliberately hiding the puppeteers. They are reporting the words, but they are willfully ignoring the truth. And the truth, as always, is far darker, far more cynical. This isn't a show of strength. It is a choreographed admission of weakness. It is the hollow boast of a man who knows the knives are already being sharpened in the shadows. A man being meticulously set up for a spectacular fall. Because what is really happening inside the Labour machine is a cold, calculated, and unforgivable betrayal of the British people. Insiders in Westminster, the ones who've seen it all before, speak of it in hushed tones, away from the microphones, in the quiet corners of parliamentary bars. They say Starmer is no longer a leader in any meaningful sense. He is a human shield. A political bomb disposal suit. A scapegoat in waiting. The party's radical, globalist wing, the true power behind the throne, knows that the budget coming in November will be a catastrophe. They know the tax rises and spending cuts they have secretly planned will bring unimaginable pain to ordinary families from Dover to Dundee. They know it will be political poison, a dose so toxic it could cripple a government for a generation. So, who better to deliver the bad news? Who better to stand at the dispatch box and announce the destruction of household budgets than the man they are already planning to discard? Let him take the blame. Let him face the public's righteous fury. Let him become the face of failure, the symbol of broken promises. And then, when the damage is done, when the country is reeling, they will swoop in. A Wes Streeting, perhaps. An Angela Rayner. They will present themselves as the saviors, the fresh start, the ones who will clean up the mess. It is a classic bait and switch, a cynical palace coup, and you, the British taxpayer, are the intended victim. This is the unforgivable moral contrast at the heart of modern Britain. A grotesque two-tier system of suffering and scheming. While you sit at your kitchen table, the light off to save electricity, staring at bills you can no longer afford to pay, they are sitting in private dining rooms in Westminster, sipping expensive wine, plotting their next move on the career ladder. While a pensioner in Essex, a widow whose husband worked the docks for 40 years, decides between putting the heating on for an hour or buying a loaf of bread, they are leaking stories to the press to damage their rivals. While a young family in Manchester has to tell their children there's no money for a day out, no money for new school shoes, Starmer is talking about giving kids a treat in a newspaper interview. As if he has any concept of the waking nightmare his government is engineering. He talks of breakfast clubs as a grand solution, a pathetic, insulting sticking plaster for a mortal wound. It is not just out of touch. It is a calculated humiliation of everyone outside their bubble. Think of a former Royal Marine sergeant from Hull. He's 55. He's worked every single day of his life. He's paid his taxes without complaint. He's served his country in 2 wars. He voted Labour, maybe not with enthusiasm, but with a desperate, clinging hope that things couldn't get any worse than the Tory chaos. And what does he see now? The same decay. The same contempt. The same unforgivable infighting. He sees a prime minister so weak, so utterly devoid of authority, that 16 of his own MPs can openly defy him on something as fundamental as controlling our borders and face no consequences. He sees a party more interested in its own internal power struggles than in the security of the nation he swore to defend. He feels like a fool. He feels betrayed. And he is not alone. Millions feel the same burning, churning sense of betrayal in their gut. They were promised competence, they have been given chaos. They were promised security, they have been given a government at war with itself. They were promised change, they got a different face on the same rotten system. And that was only the beginning. The polls don't lie. You can spin them, you can ignore them, but you cannot escape them. YouGov's data for the Times is not just a warning, it's a political death sentence. Just a third of his own 2024 voters want him to lead them into the next election. Nearly a quarter want him gone right now, today. And in the polls that truly matter, the ones that measure the tectonic plates of British politics, Labour consistently trails Reform UK. The great realignment is happening right before our eyes. The people are finally, decisively, abandoning the broken, two-party system that has failed them for decades, a cosy cartel that offers only managed decline. And in this new landscape, Keir Starmer is the villain of the piece. Not a villain of strength and menace, but a pathetic villain of weakness. A hollow man. A political spectre haunting the corridors of Downing Street until his own party decides the time is right to exorcise him. He stands at the dispatch box, wearing the same expensive suit, the same bland tie, mouthing the same tired, focus-grouped platitudes, utterly oblivious to the tidal wave of public anger that is about to crash down upon him and sweep him away. He is the symptom of the disease, not the cure. A man who promised to change politics and instead became its most pathetic, forgettable victim. And on the other side? A force is rising. It is the force the establishment fears most. It is the voice of the forgotten majority, the voice they have tried to silence, smear, and shut down for years. It is the voice of Nigel Farage and Reform UK, the only political movement telling the unvarnished, uncomfortable truth about the scale of this national crisis. They aren't talking about breakfast clubs and PR stunts. They are talking about the catastrophic, unsustainable cost of illegal immigration. They are talking about the crippling economic insanity of the net zero agenda. They are talking about the bloated, wasteful state that consumes your taxes and gives you nothing but failure in return. They aren't plotting in the shadows. They are holding rallies in town halls, speaking directly to the British people, reflecting their concerns, their patriotism, and their righteous anger. While Starmer's party fractures into a dozen self-interested, warring tribes, the super-liberals, the union paymasters, the careerist plotters, the Corbynite remnants, the people of this country are uniting. They are waking up. They see the game for what it is. A rigged system designed to keep the same class of political elites in power, forever, swapping the blue rosette for the red one, while nothing ever changes for you. What happened next stunned everyone who was paying attention. As the pressure mounted, as the whispers grew to a roar, Starmer didn't retreat. He didn't show a shred of humility. He doubled down. His allies, the few he has left, briefed the press that he has an iron grip on the party, that he is a master of discipline. But this isn't discipline. It's the eerie quiet before the execution. Every political commentator worth their salt knows it. Every lobby journalist is writing the pre-obituaries. The budget in November is the first trigger. The local elections in May are the second. His own MPs are not loyal. They are simply waiting for the right moment to strike. They will let him be the scapegoat for the economic carnage, the fall guy for the electoral wipeout that is coming in London and Wales. They will use him, discard him, and then try to sell you the same old lies with a new, smiling face. This is the ultimate contempt. They believe you are stupid. They believe you will fall for it again. They believe that after they have pushed through their disastrous budget, after they have made you poorer, your country weaker, and your future more uncertain, you will simply accept their next chosen leader without question. They believe your anger is temporary and your memory is short. They believe you are just a pawn in their endless, selfish game. So, I ask you, will you allow them to treat you with this level of disdain? Will you stand by and watch as this cabal of cynical plotters uses one man's delusion to mask their catastrophic agenda for Britain? Or will you be part of the great awakening that says, no more? If you refuse to stay silent while they tear our country apart from the inside. If you believe Britain deserves better than these pathetic games and this managed decline, then make your voice heard.